Hi, Peter Charles here, Folk to Fly Fly Fishing, and today let's talk about tracking. And tracking is simple. It means you want your rod to track straight from the back cast to the forward cast, both vertically, and the rod tip should be moving horizontally in a straight line as much as possible. I mean, we're not going to get perfection here, but we try to get it as close to a straight line as we possibly can. So we're going to do vertical and horizontal, but in this particular video, I'm mostly concerned with the vertical tracking because that's a big problem that people have. And what I see happen on the water all the time, and I used to do this too at times, if I overpower a cast in the old days when I would get frustrated and start overpowering a cast, I would start doing this as well. So basically what you want with tracking is this rod is going in a straight line when you're making your forward stroke. However, what we do see instead is hooking, which the rod tip goes behind the head, and then a slice in front. So the rod is traveling in an arc. And this is a very common problem because when you think of how we manipulate a rod, a two-handed rod, it's very easy, especially if our bottom hand doesn't move around very much, is to just pivot everything on the bottom hand. And that creates this arcing motion, both, in this plane and in this plane. We arc like this and we arc like that. And the trick is usually to keep both hands active together and not rely just on your top hand to do all the work and your bottom hand just going for the ride. It's a two-handed rod. Let's use both hands. So you're going to try to track it in a straight line as much as possible. Now, I've got a bad cast and a good cast, and wait till you see what happens in the good cast. This is really interesting. I don't think I have ever seen this properly videoed before in any of the casting videos I've ever watched over the years, and I've never videoed it before. So this is going to be really cool to see this actually occur, and I'll explain why it worked. Okay, let's start with the bad cast. This is full speed. Very sloppy. Cast is off to the right. So I was here and the line ended up going over here. So we'll just let that track through in slow-mo. You can see I'm swinging the D-loop really sideways. That's really ugly. Now I'm stopping it right there. The rod has gone right behind my head. Yeah, that's a way to put a hook in the back of your head. At the worst, it'll go in the back of your head. It'll probably end up in your waders. You have a hole in your waders. So that's putting the rod behind my head. It's called hooking. Now I've come around in a big arc. So my rod tip is going in an arc, and I've laid all the D-loop on the water by doing this. And now the power stroke is over. I've finished the power stroke, and it's gone sideways. But look, the anchor's ripping off the water. I'm losing tons of energy because it's still coming off the water, and it's coming off in an arc. And look how, I'll just back that up a little bit, see if we can see that. I know it's hard to see that line. There, right there where the arrow is, there is my forward loop rolling out. Way over there. So that's part of the issue when you do these sidearm motions. You're swinging everything out to the side. Now see the curving anchor we have here? See this? The curve in the anchor? That's typical of that arcing motion is reflected in the anchor. And I've finished off with the slice. So, like that. So, as you can see, the line has gone out over here. This is where the line is rolling out on this side. And you can see it, I'll stop it right there. You can see it right here. And there's some of it over here, so it's curved around like this. So your power stroke, instead of the line tracking straight, everything's gone off to the side. And so the actual forward loop is wide open, it's sloppy, and it's going out in two planes like this. So we'll finish it off, and you can see the front loop falls over. Now here's a good cast, nice and straight. Tracks straight down my body, right off my lead toe. So let's slow this down at first. So, when I'm looking at this, and it seems at this point to be very similar. There doesn't seem to be a lot of differences. Now, the D-loop has gone off to the side, just like the other one. But the D-loop has a lot more tension, and it has a proper point to it. But it's gone that way. And you're thinking, oh, that's a problem. Now, what I do here, and you can see my rod tip is close to being vertical. I came around in this position, and then as my rod unloaded and made the D-loop cast, I kicked up into the firing position. So I went from about this angle to this angle. So I'm ready to fire, and I've got my rod almost vertical. Watch what happens. Watch the D-loop come swinging around, and it's right in line with the cast. So the top leg of the D-loop is directly behind the rod in a straight line, and the anchor is a little off to my right where we want it, safety, but the anchor's straight too. So the whole thing pivoted. Let's back that up. I want you to see that pivot. See, I'll step through. You can see, I know it's a little bit difficult to see. It's right here. The line is here. And the top of the D-loop is there. It's moving quickly. But you can see the shadow of it. There we can see it's moving around. And you can really see it here now. And it's lined up straight in the direction that I'm casting. And it rolls out straight. The anchor rolls off cleanly, as you can see. Dead straight. Minimum of disturbance. So, I mean, just the leader, maybe the tip of the line was in the water. And look at the rollout. It goes straight down the rod path and falls straight ahead of me. I'll back up a little bit because you can. It's falling. See right there. There is the line going out. It's actually falling right in front of me, so I can't see it on camera. But that is what good tracking looks like. And the beauty of this is this D-loop has energy. Look at it swing around. There's tons of energy in that D-loop. Now, we're going to get on to D-loop compression, which is this way. And this is where, when you've made your tracking accurate in your sweep as well. So not only have I tracked properly going forward, I've tracked properly going backwards as well. And I'll produce a nice compacted D-loop, which helps tremendously with the rod loading. Look at that compaction. And so you're seeing in this particular image, you are seeing the rear view and the side view of basically the same D-loop. Obviously two different locations, 2 different days. But the D-loop shape is identical. If I did a rear shot of this one and a side shot of this one, they'd look the same. So here's the thing. When you can get that D-loop lined up right behind you, it's called the 180 degree principle. So the D-loop is lined up directly with your forward cast, and you make your back cast also tracking nice and straight. You get this vertical compression of the D-loop. A lot of productive weight. There's energy in the D-loop. That line swinging around, that D-loop swinging around, has centrifugal force. It has energy. It's just that swing alone is going to load the rod. I mean, you can. I'm not saying it's huge, but it adds up. So just having that line swing and line up directly behind the rod tip, you've maximized your productive weight, plus you've added in some centrifugal force as well, which is kind of cool. So you get maximum bang for your buck because you've got those 2 things working for you. So that's basically tracking. It's really about you thinking about going in a straight line, concentrating going in a straight line. If you have problems going in a straight line and you find yourself hooking all the time, the best way to do this is follow your rod tip. Watch your rod tip all the way back, and you'll keep it over there. You'll track straight. It's a great way to get rid of the hooking problem. And when you come forward, track your rod tip all the way forward. So you're tracking it back, you're tracking it forward. If you watch your rod tip all the way through the forward stroke, you will cast quite straight. So in my little model here, I will want my rod tip to go in a straight line as much as possible. And so it pulls that line straight. So at the end of the, as we're getting through the end of the power stroke, the line is almost dead straight behind the rod tip like that. It's almost an overhead cast, and you get maximum load and maximum benefit from the productive weight. So give it a try. As I say, a lot of people slice around, hook, slice, arc this way. It throws big wide open loops. We'll be talking about that in a later video. So they get big wide sloppy loops, everything's sideways, lots of anchor on the water, and they're thrashing like mad to get rid of it. And if you watch them when they're casting, that bottom hand is just basically stuck in one spot, and they're doing everything with the top hand, and it's going every which way, and everything's ugly. The trick is to get both hands working together, and, I'm talking about the hands, but the way to get that to work is to track the rod tip. When you do that, your hands do it automatically. You don't have to think about your hands. I think one of the worst things you can do when you're trying to correct problems is go, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do that. You can't keep it all straight in your head. Keep it simple. Watch the rod tip. So you've placed your anchor, pick up your rod tip, backwards, forwards, and you'll keep your rod tip going in a nice straight line. So give that a try. Cheers.